Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's live trading session, trade review session. As always, if you have questions, either place those in the relevant area on your screen or send me an email, nick@bullandbearcap.com, or via sam@bullandbearcap.com, and I'll do my best to respond to those. So I have a couple of orders on, probably one more than I wanted to prior to the open. The thing, certainly with this week so far, or possibly with the exception of Monday, what we've seen is the Dow open and then very quickly, almost aggressively move higher after that opening bell. And the pattern today hasn't been completely dissimilar. I've been caught out on the last 2 or 3 days when this has happened. Stopped out yesterday when it happened. So really wanted to only go into the open with one trade on. I have 2 now. One of them's a little bit in profit. I sold at 350 a little while ago and have a TP in there at 325, which is about 8 pips away. So reasonably comfortable with it, but as I said, there is the thought at the back of my mind in relation to how these markets have opened through over the last couple of days. Do I expect it to continue? Genuinely, I don't. But I didn't expect it to continue yesterday or the day before either, and it did. And really it was from the opening bell, the minute the market opened, there were buyers, and that started to gather pace immediately. The trading started. So as I'm talking, we're seeing a little bit of a sell-off in gold. Gold's gone down to just below 1959, trading 1958 and change. At the moment, currencies have come off hard. Sterling harder than anything else during the course of this week, and the reason there is a much lower rate of inflation than people were expecting. So the fight against inflation, certainly for this month, has been far more successful in the UK than probably in other locations. But globally, there is definitely a sense across the US, the UK and a few other locations as well that inflation is coming under control. There's a lot of speculation and talk yesterday in the US about whether a 2% target in the Fed is realistic, or by the Fed in relation to inflation is realistic, whether they should fixate on that quite as much as they have. The economy is robust, it's moving in the right direction. And earnings to this day, to this stage, have been reasonably good. The banks in particular posting some good results during that particular time. So the Dow traded there very briefly at 325 on the bid side, didn't quite get there on the offer. And we're starting to see a bit of movement with about 4.5-5 minutes to go to the opening bell. Unfortunately, we saw the bid at 325, it's back at 335. So there's definitely a little bit of nervousness there. We're seeing it quite jumpy as we get into these last few minutes before the bell sounds. So just looking around the other markets, giving you some levels there. Gold, spoke a minute ago about it being at 1958. It's back up to 1961.5. The DAX is fairly static, just below 16,160, so it's currently trading 16,159. And the Dow has picked back up to 34,340. So again, you know, a lot of working out in these last couple of minutes about where these orders are going. There's obviously, I would imagine, as much as in the back of my mind, it's in the back of everybody else's mind, that we've seen this bid come through very early over these last couple of days, and whether or not that materialises today is going to be key. So gold has tipped up to 1962 or thereabouts, and the Dow is still hovering around this 335 area. So just gone on to, I'm just going to look at the daily chart here for the Dow, and you can see that we're pushing back up to those most recent highs that we've seen back in January of last year. So these are levels that we would have seen January last year. January of last year. And we're pushing back up to those levels. If we look on a weekly basis, you'll see that we were considerably higher than that, up around the just shy of the 36,920 level, going back to 2021. I think those levels are. Just pulling that back to a daily chart there. So January 22, we're looking, it was January 22 that we pushed up to that 37,000 mark, and then you can see again on this daily chart that the levels that we're trading at the moment are higher than anything that we've seen going back to April of 2022. So reasonably strong at the moment. There's an argument for this market to go either way, as you can imagine. Strong results pushing this ever higher, and then potentially inflation and rising interest rates keeping a ceiling on this market for the time being. There is an acceptance that the rate that will be certainly one more rate increase towards the end of this month. I think the 26th is the date, although I could be wrong with that, and possibly one more at the meeting after that. So we're about 90 seconds or thereabout from the opening bell. We're hovering that 35,330 level. I'd like one of these trades to close before the opening bell. It'd be easy enough for me to go and take 20 pips now, and maybe the risk in holding this position to see if we get 325 trading outweighs that the more prudent approach and taking that profit at this time. So, but we'll just wait and see. The limit order is in there, or the TP level is in there at 35,325. We're at that level now, so we bid there again, and we went offered there at 325.8, and then we should have traded now. So let me just see what went on there. Should have traded. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to. Or have I traded? There you go. There was the announcement that it was a little bit slow. So we've closed out that trade at 325. So there's 25 pips there. The next order is at 35,311. Pushing back to those levels now. Less than 30 seconds to go now to the opening bell. So a little bit jumpy. 320 still. Not quite there at the opening bell, but we're about to go open there. So I'm just going to get ready with the other order. We see a nice movement to the downside. Market is open now, so we're trading around the 300 level. Slight profit on that trade, nothing really to write home about. It's moved back above now. Not seeing that big movement that we saw yesterday. There's a lot more of a meeting of the minds here today, which is what you would expect. It's Friday. We've had 9 consecutive days of gains on the Dow. If we stay where we are currently trading, potentially it is a 10th straight day of gains, so it's a fairly significant move to the upside. But for the time being, I'll just hold on to that last trade. Keep an eye on that. I have it on my phone, so just sticking around this 35,300 level, not really breaking through. Every time we go down, we get bid about 290. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm talking, and this will just probably show how live this is as well. I'll just put a sorry, we did go down to 290 there. Could have taken profit on that. So let me just Let me just close out that trade. I was going to put a limit in, but I'll just take that trade where it is. And so still seeing a bit of downside coming in there. So unlike the last few days, we haven't seen that movement to the upside. We haven't seen that that bid coming through fairly soon after the open. So I've been able to close both of the trades there. DAX has dropped down to about 16,148. The gold has dropped up to, well, it's picked up to about 1963, and the currencies, sterling's a little bit firmer. The euro hasn't done a great deal, and as we're looking at the Dow there, we're still trading around the 35,300 level. We see a bid, if we see the market go bid above 35,320, I will be a seller at those levels. If there's a bit of momentum as we push past that particular point, I will definitely get more involved. So a bit of a waiting game now, seeing if that level trades. We're not a million miles off it now, trading around 312. But if we see a move up to 325, possibly a little bit higher, certainly interested in selling into that. The top sell that I did this morning was at 350. Not convinced that we'll see those levels again today. It is Friday. We had this massive run up. I'm of the belief that we will see some profit taking between now and the close of trading today. So traded about 328 on the high there. Could or should possibly have sold into that. Just looking for another opportunity to get in and involved around those levels, but it's just not happening at this particular point. So what I'll do is I'll open up trading for this week. It's been a tough week, not a good week. There's no way to sugarcoat that. Good day Wednesday, reasonably good day today, but shocking days Monday, Tuesday and Thursday. So there's about 50 pips worth of profit on the last two trades. So the loss for the week is probably somewhere around the 480 mark as I'm speaking to you. As I said, those rallies in the Dow, certainly Tuesday and Thursday, have really damaged the returns for this week. We're starting to get it all back on Wednesday, and then was all wrong on Thursday. Certainly been saved by the auto stop on at least two occasions this week, where the market has trended dramatically higher, and that obviously has put me in a situation where, and I've always referred to things this way when we're talking about it. I'm not somebody who follows trends. My trades are always a little bit contrarian in that I'm selling into rallies or buying on dips. And when you have a strongly breaking trend in one direction, be that to the upside or to the downside, and you're taking that contrarian point of view, it can become very damaging very quickly. And certainly I've experienced and witnessed that this week, largely around those opening bells with the Dow and these really sharp movements that we've seen to the upside. And it has been, there's been a lot of momentum. It's been fairly consistent. Had you sold up there around that 320 level, you're now looking at a 40 pip profit or so on that particular trade. So I'd probably look to take some form of profit out of that as the market is moving around. Obviously, the phrase that often gets bandied around is the trend is your friend. It's just never the approach that I've taken. I'm always looking for those changes in direction in the markets, and as we've spoken about a number of occasions over the last months and years, when a market settles into that range and you have a more defined range, it becomes a lot easier to trade. So I have a couple of people calling me, and I think I need to respond to one of them. So notwithstanding that there's any questions, I will get back to those during the course of this afternoon. But I'll have to respond to this call. So I'll finish this up here, and I'll be back with you on Telegram very soon. Thank you very much for